the November 5th Energy and Environment Committee. Mr. Prieto, I notice that Mr. Blumenfield and Mr. Koretz and I are here. We've got a quorum. Let's begin with item number 1.
Certainly, Mr. Chair. Item number 1. Motion, Parks Bloomfield, relative to instructing Bureau of Sanitation to report in regard to the appropriateness, feasibility of implementing and endorsing a sewer line protection program offered through the National League of Cities. We have staff from the Bureau of Sanitation.
Very good. Welcome, staff from Bureau of Sanitation.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Council
Good afternoon.
members.
If you could pull that up and
Sure.
speak up here so we can all hear you.
Absolutely. My name is Ali Posti. I'm with Bureau of Sanitation. And I'm here to report on Council Motion number 140515, which was drafted by Mr. Parks and Mr. Blumenfield, directing the Bureau of Sanitation to investigate and prepare a report on appropriateness and feasibility of the city endorsing a sewer lateral warranty program. Little background, the city owns and operates 6,700 miles of primary and secondary sewers. Those are the sewer lines larger than 8 inches in diameter. And we have over 700,000 customers. These customers are connected to the city system via laterals. The lateral maintenance is the responsibility of the homeowners. It is per estimate, approximately 10% of the laterals have various types of defects. That's close to 70,000 of the total 700,000. The majority of these defects have been observed in the areas with the root hotspots, where there are penetration of root through the lateral system and with a high concentration of trees. The tree roots, of course, they penetrate the laterals and they create blockage and damage the line. Since 2005, the City of LA and LA Sanitation, in root hotspots, we have been sending mailers, and we have conducted outreach and educational program to address, to aware the homeowners of the sewer issues, of their sewer issues. And on a quarterly basis, the LA Sanitation reaches out to the homeowners regularly and inform them of methods and ways to rehab and replace their sewers or maintain them. This warranty program is offered by National League of Cities. It's a privately held company, and it's administered by a company called Service Line Warranties of America. They have signed up over 200 cities nationally, like Atlanta, Phoenix, Las Vegas, and San Diego. This warranty provides a repair of the laterals at a nominal fee with no deductible to the homeowners. The work is, according to them, is performed by licensed plumbers. Each repair they pay for incident, rather, they pay up to $4,000 for pipe return and $4,000 for surface repair, which is on the public right of entry part, on the city streets and the sidewalks. The lateral repair costs anywhere, in our experience, between $6,000 or in a small amount, maybe a few thousand to upwards of $12,000 to $15,000 for the lateral to be repaired. This warranty says they propose that each homeowner will pay about almost $10 a month in a fee. And for this branding endorsement of the city, they're willing to pay a percentage back to the city, which adds up to approximately $1.5 million. Some of the benefits, of course, are the homeowners who cannot afford the repair. They can use this, of course, this method to pay. There is no financial impact to the city, per se. And this complements the proposed city lateral root replacement program, or repair program, that we are working on, financial assistance program, that Bureau of Sanitation and the instruction of the council is working on. Some of the issues that have been brought up by the city attorneys are, of course, because they want the city's endorsement, there is a violation, or there is a charter 104.G that prohibits city to endorse businesses and get into private enterprises. There is also a city ordinance that prohibits these entities using the city seal on their, as these companies proposing to do, on their letterhead for advertisement. And the other thing is that these companies looking for sole sourcing rather than competitive bidding. So in other words, they want the city's entire commitment that this is the only company that can provide this service. There are some, and then I recommend, there are three ways really to go about this, this proposal. There are three different options. Either sole source the company, have them use use a competitive RFP, like San Diego had done, and receive other competitive bidders from other companies and see which one provides the best service to the city or the residents, or use the open market. Excuse me. City Bureau of Sanitation is coming with financial assistance program. This assists the low-interest loan to the homeowners, helps them with lateral repairs that they may have.
This is an existing city program?
This is in the works right now, that CAO has prepared a report and is going through the process.
I see. So it's not currently available to...
No, but we hope that it will be available shortly. The CAO has had a favorable report and is in the process of being completed. That's the one that we recommend. That throughout this outreach program that we currently have, we reach to the homeowners. We introduce this company and similar companies, and say that these, in addition to the lateral loan program that we have, or this financial assistance program that we have available, there are these other companies that provide warranties as well. So that concludes my report.
Mr. Labange.
Yeah, I learned about this at the National League of Cities. Mr. Parks jumped on it. I think it's an idea we should look at. I'm going to go down to San Diego, outside the county, to look at that. I'm also going to go to Imperial with SCAG on another issue. And I think all of us should look at this, because I think this is an idea that time has come. The Department of Water and Power would like to fix all their parks, all their pipes tomorrow. Sanitation like fix all their pipes tomorrow. And we're not going to have that ability to do that, because we're not going to have the staffing ever to do this.
Correct.
So there's a partnership and a collaboration that we've got to look at, because we can't do it alone. And the National League of Cities recommends this, and they do many cities, so I think it's worth taking the next step to look at it. And then possibly, what I would suggest, because I know not all parts of the city has sewer lines, but go to one section of the city that's time is coming and really try to do that. I truly believe, Mr. Chair, too, because I'm going to have a report on this, my own legislative analyst, on the 7 regions of the city that we really got to look at for our infrastructure and our public works. Just a last example, I'm an infrastructure, we're all infrastructure people, but I'm a big infrastructure guy. I'm on Glendale Boulevard in Silver Lake, 96-inch pipe. I had everybody out in the street. We're marking it out, getting ready to go. Water and power was hard charging. Traffic was bumper to bumper. Guy rolled down his window and said, "Councilman, I want my neighborhood back." And I'm thinking, because he went over the Fletcher Drive Bridge, and we were doing the Fletcher Drive Bridge, and we were fixing sewers on Angus Street. Thank you. I think it was Malloy, who does a great job for you. But when we do this, they're going to be a big bark back, because it does cause inconvenience. The subway's finally coming to Wilshire Boulevard. There's impact. We've got to work around that and safely, worker safety first, community safety equally, but this all adds to it. And the one tough question I want to ask you, in an earthquake, what happens?
In the earthquake, in the laterals, or?
Yeah, they're going to be right there with us? There's no escape clause?
They haven't explained.
I think that's the one thing. Are they here? The people here from the east? Yeah. The earthquake hits us tomorrow. 8.2. What happens? And there's
come on up to the center table,
yeah,
so we can get you on the record here.
Sorry for being so aggressive there, Mr. Chair.
Your name and the organization that you represent, please.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Mike Condifin. I'm the National Account Executive for the National League of Cities Service Line Warning Program. And we've met with council member and several of your legislative folks. And the issue associated with the earthquake is, as an act of God, the catastrophic losses would not be eligible to be covered. In the event that it's a more minor quake and over time those sewers or sanitary sewer service laterals deteriorate, they would be covered.
But like any earthquake, they wouldn't be covered?
Yes, it's...
That has to be, because we do know an earthquake's coming.
Yeah.
So we have two choices. We wait till the earthquake and then sign up for this, or we sign up before, whatever it is. I'm just saying that if anybody was listening, they'd maybe laugh a little, but they're not listening, so I'll rest my case.
Yeah, there are no pre-existing condition exceptions within the agreement. So if you all adopt the program and on the first day, people sign up and the second day they have a coverage request, then we certainly will cover that.
But let's say the third day there's a 7.2 earthquake.
Yeah, on the third day there's a 7.2 and lines are busted all over town. As an act of God, that would not be covered under the contract. If there's a 2.3 and on the fifth day then somebody has one, then that is covered. And it's a bit of a conundrum for us. I recognize that.
We should have Lucy Jones look at this, get her opinion.
You know, colleagues, any other questions? Mr. Blumenfield, Mr. Kretz? Mr. Kretz?
So why are we looking at doing this in this manner rather than putting it out for RFP?
It really is an attempt to streamline the process for the city. So many of your colleagues have already done the RFP process, San Diego, for example, and the National League of Cities, many councils of governments around the country. And so rather than have to just repeat that process, which as you know is time-consuming and expensive for your staff, council member, most of the communities, particularly the large cities, go through a piggyback option or tag on to the NLC program or the San Diego program.
So is sanitation sure there couldn't be a better vendor out there?
We haven't looked, but there are other companies available that they can provide the competitive service.
Well, I would just have to say as a general rule, if there are competitors out there that could provide a better service, I think we should do an RFP for it.
And Mr. Chairman, if I could just tag on to that, the NLC program is designed that it will only participate at the invitation of the city. And so there really are no competitors that offer this same kind of a product in partnership with the municipality. That's why the NLC did it this way.
And have we looked at it whether either at the state or federal level, since President Obama and the governor have both expressed interest in addressing this issue, whether there are funds available at either level for us?
We haven't looked into that federal or state level. However, at this time, the Bureau of Sanitation is not recommending any of these processes. We are open to whatever the council decides. There are limitations that council has brought up, that the city attorney has brought up, as I pointed out, regarding the charter and the ordinances that they need to investigate further, but they can do that only at the instruction of the council.
And have we ever done a report on our current level of methane leaks and our efforts to do more sewer connections and all of that?
I have an expert here up with me to answer your question.
Good afternoon, Councilman. Omar Muqaddam, City of Los Angeles Bureau of Sanitation, Director of Regulatory Affairs. Yes, sir, I will address the methane leak situation in twofold. First of all, the public safety aspect of it and the greenhouse gases. And I believe you're very much focused on the greenhouse gas, and we have been working very closely with the mayor's staff and your staff in addressing the methane, biomethane and methane hotspots, leaks, whether there are infiltration leaks, fugitive leaks, or seepages of any kind from the other sources that may end up through the path of least resistance into the sewer systems. So the answer to your question is yes, sir, we have been addressing it, and we are hoping that through this program or any other program that you will authorize, there will be enough funding that we can continue our partnership with Caltech, and that there are parallel efforts addressing the methane hotspots in our region, including the sewer lines, obviously.
Again, I think we should do something significant in addressing this. I just don't know whether the RFP process should be included in that effort.
Okay, let's see if I can help out here. Oh, Mr. Blumenfield.
Okay. I don't believe that we're making a decision here about
That's right.
whether the RFP process or it's an open process, or even whether to move forward with this. I think this, if I understand the issue in front of us, we're getting a report.
Correct.
And we're going to look forward to, we're trying to raise some of the issues. This is an update. Mr. Kretz is raising some very valid issues. I would imagine we could even have an open source competitive kind of option, which is one of the things that you mentioned. I was curious, wanted to ask you, though, you mentioned a 10% defects that are out there currently, and any sort of insurance program has got to, be based on what they expect the call to be. Are you saying that you expect 10% of the purchasers of this, for lack of a better word, this policy, this insurance policy, would immediately capitalize on it and take advantage of it, or does something actually have to? Does there need to be an incident for that to happen?
There should be an incident for them to happen. They should have some sort of a SWIR backup or SWIR backlog that alerts them to this problem. What we do in our program, as we are doing condition assessment for our SWIR lines, generally we come in with the areas that are root penetration through the laterals into our main lines. That time we provide the information to the homeowners and let them know that during our investigation, we found that they have defective laterals that with the root penetration. We recommend to them to take corrective action.
And you say the lateral strip at the pipes that go between the sewer line center and the street and into your house.
Correct.
They go underneath your front lawn.
Correct. Actually, there are upper and lower laterals. The upper is from the structure to the property line, and lower lateral is from the property line to the center of the street, or where the sewer line is.
So from the property line to the end of your street, that's not covered by this program?
To the sewer line, it is correct. It is covered. It is covered.
It's covered.
It is lateral.
Sorry, for the property line, but from the property line to the house, like, I'll give you an example, my house, we had a backup, and they threw the little camera down through the pipes, and we saw lots of root, breaking through the pipes, and have to make that decision about at what point do we replace that pipe. This program would not help a homeowner like myself if the problem of the roots is happening actually underneath our property. It would only happen from the property line to the sewer line. Is that correct or incorrect?
Mr. Chairman, if I can interject, from the foundation to the sewer main. It's just broken in technicalities for two components of coverage. From your foundation to the property line, which is clearly your responsibility, and then from the property line to the main is an additional coverage, all for the same amount.
So it would be covered.
It absolutely
It
would
be
cover.
covered.
Yeah,
And the property line to the sewer main, that is technically the homeowner's
Correct.
responsibility.
That is correct. Although it lies within the city's right-of-way, it is the homeowner's responsibility, and as you might suspect, many homeowners don't know that.
Yeah, no, I've found out the hard way from many homeowners.
Yes,
that,
exactly.
When they're faced with that. So why break it up into two pieces?
Just for the purposes of helping out the Public Works Department, so it's very clear that that's the responsibility. So it's $4,000 worth of coverage, and then an additional $4,000 if it goes into the public right-of-way. Just the way
So
the
it could be up
agreement
to $8,000.
is. $8,000 total
Because
with coverage. Yes,
Unfortunately, I know the price of these things, and they can cost more than $4,000.
Yeah, or 8. And so one of the things we have talked about is whether or not there's a value in increasing the limits here in Los Angeles and in California in general. Our other California cities have not seen many instances where it's gone over the 8, but we keep hearing that it's likely to occur.
And then as part of that, do they do a backout valve? I forget the right term.
They do. Any repairs bring the service line lateral up to current city codes.
Which includes having the
As I understand it, that's correct.
That's correct.
So, colleagues, if it's okay, Mr. Blumenfield, I think, one, we owe Mr. Parks our sort of acknowledgement and thanks for bringing the item forward, because I think what it's trying to underscore is the fact that this is a real, as you learned recently, I'm beginning to gather, Mr. Blumenfield, a real situation for our residents, and understanding that the Bureau and the charter in large part don't really let us, at least from the city attorney's read at this point, don't really let us sort of engage in one specific company to do this. It was Mr. Parks's impression and the National League of Cities that this particular company sort of offers a very attractive package to residents. And so the question before us, I think, isn't so much whether we should follow suit or sort of avoid doing our due diligence. I think it's to really heighten our awareness that this is a real issue that is very costly, with all due respect to the Bureau, really costly to the residents. So while the Bureau may do their due diligence and sort of alert the homeowner to the problem, it's still the problem of the resident, and many of us don't have sort of the $8,000 available to sort of make the repairs. So if it's okay with you all, what I'd like to do is offer that we continue the matter for 60 days and instruct the Bureau to report back on the following things. The development of an outreach information program via the city's websites and printed literature to inform property owners regarding route hotspot areas and services being offered by warranty companies, such as the one that we have here with us today. But the other part that I think that you all may have caught in the Bureau's presentation is that they are currently working on a proposal to create a sewer connection financial assistance program that it sounds like may potentially offer some financing to our residents through their program. Now, that is not in place yet. And in looking through our materials, it wasn't a report that's been forwarded yet, I don't believe.
Not yet.
So the point is here, colleagues, that in 60 days we'll have them report back on those two things, and at that point, I think we can make the recommendation to the rest of the council as to what is the most attractive sort of thing for our residents, if not a mixture of those things. So without objection, if that's okay, that shall be the order. Thank you very much for your presentation and for very insightful. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That takes us, I'm sorry, item 1, I do have a card. Mike Conduft, was that fantastic? Great, very good. We'll see you back in 60 days. Item number 2.
Item number 2, Mr. Chair. Motion Bloomfield Fuentes relative requesting the Department of Water and Power to report on the city's participation in the PACE and HERO programs. Now, this matter was continued from your August 20th meeting with the request department report on the matter, and they have a report that's been submitted today.
Very good. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Oops. Gretchen Hardison with Department of Water and Power. So, you know, this is a report in response to the motion asking DWP to report on the city's potential participation in the Property Assessed Clean Energy, or PACE, financing program and the Home Energy Renovation Opportunity, or HERO program, for residential properties, and the steps needed to implement and publicize this type of financing program for energy and water efficiency and renewable energy projects in our residential properties in the City of Los Angeles. As you know, the City of Los Angeles currently participates in LA County's commercial PACE program, and our understanding is that this, as the county proceeds with their process to implement a residential PACE program, that would fold into the overall program, and the city would thus be sort of automatically entered into that program. I'll jump right into progress since your August 20th meeting. Since August 20th, county staff released a request for proposals for a PACE program administrator on August 26th. Proposals were due on September 30th, and multiple proposals, I believe 4 proposals, were received. The county is proceeding with the proposal review and negotiation process, and they do expect to have a provider selected before the end of the year. Mr. Bardicki here from the mayor's office will give us a little more detail in just a couple minutes on that process. I'm going to go ahead and skip down to our recommendation, which is to continue to work with LA County on their process and push them to have this program up and running no later than June 2015. We feel that this is the best opportunity to achieve consumer protections that the committee mentioned concerns with multiple providers, and also coordination with utility rebate programs, and not only DWP's rebate programs, but also SoCalGas rebate programs that can be available to home upgrade projects. We think it's a good opportunity to ensure the value of the efficiency and to hopefully lower the overall cost of these upgrade projects for our residents. And I'm going to stop there. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. Ted Bardicki, Deputy Director of the Mayor's Sustainability Office. Also was here a couple of months ago, and I'm a member of the county's selection committee, so I want, without sort of tripping up their process legally, I wanted to sort of just give you a little bit of insight into how that process is going, and specifically on the three items that you all as a committee asked us to focus on, which were consumer protection, coordination with utility and DWP rebates, and multiple providers. We, as Gretchen mentioned, county received 4 qualifying proposals. We met last Thursday, 8 hours in a windowless conference room, to review those. There were, the good news is that there were several, or at least more than one, that would be really good additions to the offering of financing opportunities for residential home upgrades in the energy and water sector, as well as renewable energy. So in terms of the multiple providers piece, there's the opportunity to select more than one provider. On the consumer protection, we saw a lot of interesting stuff that I had not seen from PACE providers before, talking about things like protection for seniors, multilingual call centers, things that are probably important to our residents. On the coordination with utility programs, a lot of openness, not a whole lot of specifics, frankly. The county's got a lot of programs, we've got a lot of programs, but it was more of a willingness to work rather than specific proposals. I think that's important to keep in mind, because if we are able to get multiple providers, there will be a competition among those providers to work with the utilities to lower the overall costs. So this idea of multiple providers and working with the utilities is important. In terms of multiple providers, because there were enough high-scoring providers, and the Board of Supervisors has indicated a willingness to entertain multiple providers, there is a pathway forward there. My recommendation from the inside is similar to DWP's, which is that we continue to have, to follow the county process, getting that competition in. It's better for rates, it's better for the DWP incentives, and really it provides us with a measure of local control. Now, there are risks to that 2015 timeline. We're going to have some new members of the Board of Supervisors. They're going to have to get educated about this, and with a new treasurer tax collector, as well as a new county CEO. All of that transition is going to take place during the selection time. So there's some both staff and political risk that this could be derailed. And then I think the other thing is that there are, this is a very big market, and you could tell from the proposals that all of the potential providers are betting a lot on this, and one could see a scenario where a loser protested, and we went off into never land of protests and legal action and all of that. So there is a risk to following, there are benefits to following, and I think to the extent that you all as a committee can send a signal to the county that we're working, we're watching it closely, there's a lot of interest, and there is potentially a plan B in the works, that would be a really prudent measure both to have a plan B, but also to exert a little pressure. So that's my report. Happy to take any questions or thoughts.
Mr. Blumenfield.
Thank you, and I very much appreciate the report, and we've talked about this issue a lot, and as you all know, this is something I've been focused on for a very long time, since '09 when I had the bill that authorized the PACE program for water conservation and extended it for energy conservation. So for me, the frustration in time is very real. I've been watching this and hearing about why it's about to happen and it doesn't happen. It's about to happen for 5 years. And so I'm very eager to see something happen, because if you think about the last 5 years, if we had had a program like this in place, how much water we would have conserved, how much energy we would have conserved. Not that that would have prevented us from being in a drought. We were still in a drought, but we'd be in a better situation. And this program, I really believe, the PACE concept has the potential to just exponentially increase our residential water and energy conservation in a way that rebates, which are wonderful, don't come close to. And I really appreciate, the work that you're doing on the county. I think that is the right way to go, absolutely. But I also hear what you say about the risks, and I also want to be mindful of the perfect is the enemy of the good. I don't want us to wait for the perfect solution before we start doing some good things. So the Plan B idea is something that I think we've been talking about is a good way to go, and I want to know what is the fastest way we can get up and running something before the perfect county plan with all the multiple everything and all the bells and whistles is in there, which is the way to go, and I don't want to derail us from that at all, but we can chew gum and walk at the same time. Is there a way that we can, flip a switch and plug into programs that already exist on the state level, the state JPA and those kinds of things? Is there a way that we can get something happening soon? And that's the question I want to put out there.
We can, let me start. There is ways. There are ways. There's joining the Western Riverside Council of Governments program. There's the California First program that has a statewide. There's a few steps involved in that. There's formal accession to those JPAs or those COGs.
Let me extend the question not just to the but should we? How fast could it happen? And what are the pros and cons of just moving forward with something concurrently with all the good stuff we're doing in conjunction with the county?
Yeah, I mean, it could happen. It would surprise me if we went through all of those, if going through all those steps would get us up and running much quicker than the expected county time. So there might be, a couple, if the county delivers, we're probably, at best, my guess is, 2 or 3 months ahead of them. And so there's that question of doing it. But certainly there are preparatory measures that, CLA, CAO, city attorney can take to start those gears rolling. And I think that would be, a prudent measure so that if we see January, February, then there's a trigger to pull. But I think you have to sort of make I hate to use I'm not going to go to the weapon analogy, but you know what I mean.
I would agree. I don't know that we have any other information, but it does appear that there would be some type of legal process that would have to be gone through, as Ted mentioned, and that takes a little bit of time. So I would.
I'm not hearing any other substantive downside to just plowing forward in terms of on both fronts, right? There's no substantive downside that anyone is coming up with?
No, the only downside is if you start something up and then 2 or 3 months later you transition into another thing, there is some potential for creating some market confusion. But that can be mitigated. The other thing that I would say is that if there is the possibility of joining multiple providers through, acceding to a JPA or a Council of Governments, and I think that if we want to be sort of true to the idea that multiple providers is good, that it would not be to just one, but to start the process on all of the available ones that we think are good, because if we join one that's not through the sort of the rigorous county procurement process, we are putting the city's imprimatur of legitimacy on the program. So you do want to, review them and make sure that they're legit and aren't going to, engage in predatory lending practices or anything like that. So the downside of the speed is to make sure that we do actually engage in a real vetting process.
Thank you. Very good. Dr. Pickle, I know you've got some comments on the outreach part of it. Maybe that'll help inform the conversation. If you would come up, please. Thank you.
Fred Pickle, Executive Director, Office of Public Accountability, Ratepayer Advocate. The outreach process of this could take a while because there's a dazzling array of conservation and other programs. This program takes a couple minutes to explain to an average homeowner, so I think we should be thinking very actively about an outreach program that explains, probably is a test case to some of the very active neighborhood councils, how this program is going to work, and delineates what DWP is doing, what the county is doing, and what homeowners have to do themselves. And start getting these materials out so that when the program is fully available, the outreach program, the brochures, all the other materials have been through a test period and are going out.
And that can happen concurrently. We could be doing that now.
Absolutely, because it'll take that whole period to fully vet materials on this front, even as the program is changing. And it gives us, puts those wheels in motion that can take a long time to get right. And furthermore, it lets a lot of the community leaders understand what's on its way and gives them a chance to give feedback on it.
Mr. Kretz, do you have a question?
No, I don't, actually.
Very good. Mr. Blumenfield, Mr. Weezer, we discussed a little bit some of these recommendations. Would you mind sort of letting us know what we would like to do, especially since we just are going to add one, it looks like?
Yeah, I think we've been talking about a couple of things. One is to amend the motion to urge the county to implement the program expeditiously to include the following components, the ones that we've been talking about: consumer protection to ensure good work at reasonable cost, coordination with the DWP to manage the utility incentives in conjunction with PACE financing, permitting multiple PACE providers to encourage competition and potentially lower financing rates, provide adequate community outreach of PACE services within the city upon program inception. Those are the things to urge the county. And then part two would be to instruct the CAO in conjunction with the CLA and DWP to report back on options to implement a city administrative PACE program as expeditiously as possible in case the county's implementation of the program is at all prolonged. And I would add to that what Mr. Pickle was just saying, which would be to also, in conjunction with CLA and DWP, to start focusing or to work on the outreach instructions immediately, since there's no need to delay that process, and that will take some time.
Councilmember, if I might just make a small technical amendment to that, which is that a city-administered PACE program would actually take a long, long time. I think what we're looking at is the city joining an existing PACE program. A city-administered one would be starting our own, getting CAO to...
Yeah, I completely agree, and I'm looking at the wording now, and that I think your wording is better, which is you could say city administrator or connecting to or implementing, because it may just be plugging into a state-run JPA program or plugging into something else. So we can wordsmith it, but...
Yeah, I think we get the intent. Okay. That being said, we do have one card on it. Dustin Reilich, if you could come on up.
Mr. Chair, we've also, DWP submitted a report in this item today. What do we wish to do with that?
I'm sorry, who, the witness?
Oh. Okay. Oh, he's referring to the report that was submitted. Perhaps we could just file that report.
Okay, yeah, we'll receive.
It's
very good. We'll do that.
Okay.
Very good. If y'all would make some room for Mr. Reilich, please. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hello, I'm Dustin Rylick. I'm the Director of Municipal Development for the California HERO Program. Thank you for hearing this issue today. As of today, 209 jurisdictions in California have approved the HERO Program. While we are in complete agreement with the City of Los Angeles should be part of the Los Angeles County PACE program that is currently being developed, we also believe that the City of Los Angeles should strongly consider joining the statewide JPA through the California HERO Program and WRCOG while awaiting that implementation of the Los Angeles County program. In order to make the HERO Program available to the residents of Los Angeles as an interim solution, I present today the resolution which provides for voluntary participation in the HERO Program, along with the amendment to the JPA enabling the City of Los Angeles to become an associate member of the JPA. This will enable the City of Los Angeles to be added to the list of cities for our next judicial validation process and allow the HERO Program to become available in early 2015 for all of your residents. There's no financial obligation or risk to the City of Los Angeles in joining the JPA or the HERO Program. The HERO Program has met with and will continue to work with LADWP to integrate their rebate programs with the HERO Program, and we all are also very committed to sharing all of our data as well as efficiency and conservation program measures with the department to meet their needs and to help them with their outreach process. I look forward to working with the city to complete the steps necessary that are fairly simple for the city to utilize the existing statewide HERO Program as an interim solution until Los Angeles County moves forward with their program. Thank you very much for your time and consideration.
Very good. We'll hear back from staff integrating maybe your way or maybe the county way. We'll see. So with that, that will be the order. Colleagues, unless there's an objection on items 4 and 5, I'd like to move those on consent.
I'd actually like to say something on item number 4. So.
Okay, very good. So we'll take 5 on consent, and we will hear 4 as well. All right, so item number 3.
Item number 3, DWP report in response to motion Corretz-Weezer relative to its membership in the U.S. EPA's SF6 reduction partnership for electric power systems and the department's efforts to reduce it.
Good afternoon.
My name is Mark Slotchek from LADWP Environmental Affairs, and Cindy Parsons here with me too. Just to give a quick update on our work on SF6 emission reductions and status of partnership with EPA. SF6 is used in electrical equipment in places where you're in a densely populated area where it can only be used, and in medium and high voltage equipment. What we've done as a utility since 2000 is develop management programs to reduce our SF6 emissions. We have regular inspections of our equipment throughout our system. If there's any defects or anything, our crews can go out and repair it. We actually, when there's low gas alarms, our crews can go immediately, even if in the middle of the night, to take care of it. And we have gas processing carts and special imaging cameras that look for leaks. As a result of all that effort that's been done, our leak rate last year was less than 1%, which is, based on our discussions with EPA, one of the best in the nation. So we've been doing that as an ongoing process, and we're continuing that. With respect to compliance, we're subject to the Resources Board and the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's mandatory reporting program. So we report on an annual basis what our nameplate capacity is and what our emission rates are. With respect to the CARB program, we have an annual reduction that we need to get to. It started out at 10% in 2011, and it goes down to 1% by 2020. And we're already at the 2020 level. It could change as time goes on, but our goal is to stay at that level.
So you're already at the 2020 level, less than 1%?
Yep.
Very good.
And we expect to stay there. I mean, there always could be things that could come up, but that's our goal. So on the last item regarding our joining the voluntary program, we did put in our letter we'd recommend not to join. After further review and actually talking to EPA directly, we feel now, after looking at streamlining our processes and the kind of data they're looking for, that we can join the voluntary program. So we're planning to sign that by the end of the year to participate with the EPA, which will allow us to work with them and other utilities on technology development and just various meetings that they have related to that. That's my update.
Very good. Mr. Kretz?
Thank you. And I want to thank the chair for hearing this item and thank DWP staff for their good work on it. A couple of questions, though. I know your report specifies what DWP has to do within California. How are we doing on the part of our system that is outside of California, which is pretty substantial also?
Everything that's within our operating control, which even though it's owned by other people, we are maintaining. So it's part of the overall process. And we report that as part of our emission rates that we report. So the 1% that we're reporting is covered by that,
So that includes what we're doing in Arizona and other places.
wherever we have the equipment.
That's a pretty good number, actually, so that's great. Do we foresee anything in the system that is likely to make it worse in the future, aging infrastructure, or anything else?
No. I mean, there are other areas, but in terms of this is all newer equipment, and our power system has set up a very robust maintenance program.
And the use of SF6 gas is permitted for high voltage switchgear, correct?
Correct, and medium, and actually in areas where there's, you can't use regular oil-filled equipment.
Now, my understanding, and I can't claim to have incredible personal knowledge of the technology, but I understand that the low and mid-level, there are now alternatives, and they're being used increasingly in Europe. Have we looked into these alternatives? Are we aware of these alternatives?
I guess, could you answer that, Mark?
Yes, so for the lower voltage equipment, they do have vacuum breakers, but our engineers basically look at the different technologies when they are designing these substations, and they choose the technology that is best suited for the application. And so in some cases, they will put in vacuum breakers, and other cases, they will put in SF6, depending on what the needs are.
So considering the potency of SF6, isn't it wiser to try and avoid using it wherever possible?
Well, technically, these are they're gas-insulated switchgear, and when the equipment is operating properly, there is no leakage. It's only when you have a manufacturer defect, or you have a major earthquake, or you have some sort of an accident that disrupts the piece of equipment that causes it to leak. But under normal conditions, you would expect very little leakage.
And our leakage was around 500 pounds last year, so very low numbers.
But this stuff is obviously very potent, as you know. Like, I think it's a pound of SF6 is equivalent to 24,000 pounds of carbon dioxide. So, because of, as you said, when there are malfunctions, when there are acts of nature, et cetera, that there is that danger. And out of those kinds of concerns in other places, they are seeking to eliminate them. Are we looking more closely at our ability to use alternatives for those reasons?
I think, like Cindy mentioned too, for each of the projects, they are on an individual basis. We can go back and talk to our engineers to find out if they're looking at it from a more programmatic standpoint. One thing, in terms of our emissions, though, for SF6, relative to the city's overall emissions, or for our greenhouse gases as a utility, it's a fraction of a percent. It's a very small number when you combine all our greenhouse gas emissions.
And are we eligible for any kind of cap and trade credits for reducing these emissions?
No, this is command and control. There's no credits available through this.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. Let's go ahead and receive. Did you have?
Yeah,
Sure, Mr. Blumenfield.
Two quick questions. One, so I heard correctly, you said you haven't actually joined it yet, but you decided recently to join it, so that's something that's pending.
That's correct.
I got you. Awesome. And then on the emissions, are they self-reported, or are there external audits for those kinds of things?
We self-report them. For our other program, we self-certify. There's no third-party reporting on this. But it is subject to audits by the agencies, which we do for our other compliance programs.
Okay, thank you.
Very good. We'll go ahead and receive and file that report. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman,
Item 4.
if I could just ask that, as they offered, if we could ask for a report back. I don't know if the committee wants it or if they should just report back to the office informationally.
Where this is sort of in the queuing order of things, I think you all are going to be joining this group with EPA effective when, whereabouts?
Then certainly before the end of the year.
So in that case, why don't we do this? We'll sort of have a report back on sort of you joining all of that, I don't know, in 6 months' time or something, and understanding how we're performing relative to other folks, because it's sort of a national picture that we'll have, and that'll certainly encompass this. And I'm happy, Mr. Koretz, to author that motion to do that, because I think that's a significant advantage for the utility for us to join.
Okay.
Great, thank you. So we'll go ahead and introduce a motion to do that. Item number 4.
Number 4, DWP and CAO reports relative to proposed cooperative purchase contract with Hallworth Incorporated Furniture Systems and related products. You have staff from DWP and the CAO's office.
Very good. Mr. Koretz had a question for you on this cooperative purchase contract.
Yeah, the question was just, as you know, in 2009, we adopted an extensive environmentally preferable purchasing policy, which among the requirements asked that we look at the life cycle of products we purchase, the materials, et cetera, et cetera. And as far as I understood, a couple months ago, we looked at the purchasing of the paper that DWP bills are printed on. DWP had not yet, after many years, signed on to the city's policy. Has that changed?
I'm Sammy Wong, architect with leadership in energy and environmental design group. I'm the architect that manages the entire office remodels of the department. I cannot answer to the paper billing content. I can answer to the furniture contract, is what is in front of you.
Number one, do you know whether DWP has signed on to this broader policy?
No, I do not. I can answer to the fact that with this lead furniture purchases, that the majority of furniture that we're purchasing will meet lead credit for 40% furniture purchases of 10% post-consumer and 20% pre-consumer recycled material.
Well, that sounds good. Do you know if that follows the environmentally preferable purchasing guidelines adequately or not?
I do not. I do not know.
Wendy Yancey, Water and Power. Since the paper contract was brought to council, their staff is currently working on joining and bringing to board the EPC item. So it's in the works. It's not complete yet, though.
Okay, but it is in the works. How long do you think it'll take before
I did not get a chance
board?
to look at this November 18th board agenda, but I know it's in the works. I just don't know exactly when, but it should be this calendar year.
Very good. Thank you.
Very good. Hearing and seeing no additional questions or objections, we'll go ahead and approve that matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Colleagues, there are no general comment cards, so I think that brings us to the conclusion of our hearing. Thank you very much.